Rugby league is played across England but is most popular in northern England, especially Yorkshire and Lancashire where the game originated. These areas of the heartland of rugby league, and in many northern English towns the code is as, if not more, popular than association football. The sport is also popular in Cumbria where the amateur game is particularly powerful. Name. Within its northern heartlands, rugby league is often referred to as rugby, a term that in the rest of England would normally refer to rugby union, and occasionally as football, which even in the north of England normally refers to association football. History. See also, History of Rugby League. Early years. Rugby has long been popular in the north of England, and by the 1880s the region's clubs had come to dominate. The game was popular amongst working-class people, unlike the clubs in southern England whose players belonged to the middle or upper class. Rugby competition at the time did not allow paying players any wages. The working-class players felt they could not afford time off to train and play, nor could they afford to miss work through injury sustained whilst playing. The principle of amateurism and issues of class ensured that the Rugby Football Union would not countenance professional rugby. In August 1895, representatives of the northern clubs met at the George Hotel, Huddersfield, to form the Northern Rugby Football Union. The NRFU was initially vehemently anti-professional, allowing only payments for time missed from other employment. A thriving amateur scene also soon developed, as local amateur clubs wished to maintain links with their Northern Union neighbours. The Northern Union made reforms to the laws in 1897 and again in 1906 in an effort to make the game more exciting. This resulted in Northern Union football becoming a sport in its own right rather than a form of rugby union. The sport spread outside England and soon international matches began to be played. The first international match was played in 1904 as England was beaten 9-3 at Central Park, Wigan by other nationalities. This was followed by a tour of Britain by New Zealand in 1907. New Zealand met Great Britain in Great Britain's first ever Test match at Headingley, Leeds on the 18th of January 1908. The same year the first Australian Kangaroos tourists visited Britain. In 1910 the first British tour to Australia and New Zealand took place. The Challenge Cup began in 1897 with Batley beating St Helens to win the first title. The final was first broadcast by BBC Radio in 1927. The Wembley tradition was started in 1929 when Wigan beat Dewsbury 13-2 at the first Rugby League Challenge Cup to be held at Wembley. Rugby League continued to be played throughout the 1914-15 season. However, the loss of players to the First World War, a government ban on professionalism and reduced attendances forced all major competitions to be replaced by regional competitions. The NRFU became the Rugby Football League in 1922. The 1930s saw a series of failed attempts to introduce rugby league football to London. During the Second World War, professional rugby league was again discontinued. Normal leagues were suspended. A war emergency league was established, with clubs playing separate Yorkshire and Lancashire sections to reduce the need for travel. Post-war, in 1948 the first televised rugby league match was played when Wigan's 8-3 Challenge Cup final victory over Bradford Northern was broadcast to the Midlands. In another first, this was the first rugby league match to be attended by the reigning monarch, King George VI, who presented the trophy. Several attempts were made to expand the game outside the heartlands, of Southern Amateur Rugby League being formed in 1949. However, only Cumberland and southern areas of the West Riding of Yorkshire proved receptive, with teams being founded in Workington, Whitehaven and Doncaster. Nonetheless, the game survived, and continued to maintain popularity in its home regions. The introduction of regular internationals as other countries took up the sport provided a fillip. Rugby league experienced a surge in interest following the end of the Second World War. Large crowds came to be the norm for a period of around 20 years. The total crowds for the British season hit a record in 1,949.50, when over 69.8 million paying customers attended all matches. The 1,953.54 Challenge Cup final replay between Halifax and Warrington, held at Odsal Stadium, Bradford, drew 102,575 paying spectators, with an estimated 20,000 others getting in free after a section of fencing collapsed. The boom had begun to subside by the early 60s. Rugby league now had to compete against television and other new forms of entertainment, and attendances began to fall. David Attenborough, then controller of BBC Two, made the decision to screen games from a new competition, the BBC Two Floodlit Trophy, in 1965. It proved a success, and rugby league has featured on television ever since. Attendances fell even further in the 1970s. Britain won the Ashes for the last time in 1970, with a 2-1 series win in Australia. The foundation of the Universities and Colleges Rugby League in 1969, and the British Amateur Rugby League Association in 1973 was a response to the need to develop the game below professional level. 80s and onwards. In June 1980, Fulham FC announced the formation of a rugby league team, with the primary intention of creating another income stream for the association football club. The Rugby Football League was keen to expand outside the heartlands and accepted the new club. This was not the first rugby league club to be based in London. 3 London-based clubs had come and gone in the 1930s. However, unlike the past ventures, the new team would survive despite numerous moves and name changes. The 1982 Kangaroos won all the tour games for first time ever. They became known as the Invincibles. This was the time when the gap between English and Australian rugby league became apparent and has never been fully closed. The All-Party Parliamentary Rugby League Group was formed in 1987 to support the sport of rugby league and tackle the key issues facing the game in Parliament. Ian McCartney MP was the first chairman and David Hinchliffe MP the secretary. In 1987, a free gangway between the two codes of rugby at amateur level was introduced, but individual cases of discrimination continued, resulting in the Sports Bill, which was introduced by David Hinchliffe in 1994. In the mid-80s, Wigan began an era of domination of English rugby league that would end only with the formation of Super League. By 1995 they had won the Challenge Cup a record 8 consecutive times and the league title for a record 7 consecutive times. The traditional Origin series between Yorkshire and Lancashire was abandoned in 1989. Although the matches had provided a good test for selecting players for the full England and Great Britain sides, the crowds had been poor and the games had little attraction for the rest of the country. The series was revived again in 2001 before being abandoned in 2003. The Combined Services Rugby League was formed in 1994 after the official recognition of rugby league by the armed services. Since then, rugby league has been the fastest growing army sport. A rival code rugby union went professional in 1995 and, as a result, other restrictions on rugby league were relaxed by the Rugby Football Union. This opened up the possibility of expanding the game into areas where it had never been played before, as it allowed rugby league clubs to ground share with rugby union clubs and for union players to try out the other code without fear of persecution. In 1995, the fallout from the Super League war hit Britain, and the game underwent massive reorganisation. A new elite league, Super League, was formed, and the sport switched from a winter to a summer season. Super League has largely been a success, as the value of its TV contract and top-tier game crowd attendances and have both grown year upon year since 2001. The Rugby League Conference was founded in 1998 with the aim of providing regular fixtures for new clubs based outside the heartland of rugby league. It began with 14 teams, but within 9 years had grown to 88 clubs spread throughout England and the rest of Britain. Governing bodies. There is no governing body for the sport in England. That role is filled by the Rugby Football League, whose remit covers the United Kingdom as a whole. With the advent of Wales Rugby League, Scotland Rugby League and Rugby League Ireland, the RFL are increasingly becoming an English organisation. The RFL are affiliated with the Rugby League International Federation and the Rugby League European Federation. The Community Board is made up of representatives of the RFL, BARLA, Combined Services, English Schools Rugby League and Student Rugby League. British Amateur Rugby League Association are responsible for amateur rugby league chiefly in the sport's north of England heartlands, though many rugby league conference teams are affiliated to BARLA. The conference itself is not a BARLA organisation. The top division under the control is the National Conference League, with regional leagues including the Northwest Counties and Pennine Leagues. BARLA selects an international team consisting of amateur players, the BARLA Lions. This team tours many parts of the rugby league world, and have competed in the Rugby League Emerging Nations Tournament. Rugby league was recognized as a military sport in 1994. The Combined Services Rugby League is the coordinating group for the Army Rugby League, Royal Navy Rugby League and the Royal Air Force Rugby League. Each constituent body organizes its own competitions at unit and formation level. Players are fed into representative teams to represent each of the services, and the best players are selected to represent the combined services. During the early months of 2010, Tony Fretwell set up Great Britain Teachers Rugby League for qualified teachers who were interested in playing representative rugby league. Teachers Rugby League is supported by the NASUWT Teaching Union and the Rugby League Foundation. The Women's Amateur Rugby League Association is the governing body of female rugby league in the United Kingdom. It currently falls under the Rugby Football League Association, which oversees its running and management. It was originally established in 1985 and was recognized by the RFL in its first year. Touch Rugby is governed by the ETA, who are supported by the Federation of International Touch and are affiliate members of the Rugby Football Union. They are not affiliated to the RFL or BARLA open age competitions. See also, British Rugby League system. Super League is the top league for the game in Europe. 11 of the 12 teams are based in England. It is the only full-time professional rugby league competition operating in the Northern Hemisphere. The French team Paris Saint-Germain competed in the first Super League but folded in 1999. French presence was re-established in 2006 when Catalans Dragons were admitted to Super League. In 2009, Super League added Celtic Crusaders from Wales, which renamed themselves Crusaders Rugby League after that season. That team effectively folded after the 2011 season. The winner of the league is awarded the League Leaders' Shield, whilst the overall winner of Super League is determined by playoffs and a grand final. The winner of the Super League plays the winner of the Australian NRL competition in the World Club Challenge. Below Super League, there are the Championship and League One. The Championship currently has 12 clubs and League One has 15. The 2015 season marked the return of automatic promotion and relegation between Super League and the Championship. From 2009 through to 2014, promotion between the Championship and Super League had been on a licensed or franchised basis. Promotion and relegation between the leagues now known as the Championship and League One has long existed, including during the 2009-14 period. The Championship Cup is a competition with groups on a knockout phase for clubs in Championship and Championship 1. Following the 2014 season, the professional leagues underwent a major reorganization. Super League and the Championship were both reduced from 14 clubs to 12, and League One was expanded from 9 clubs to 14. The season structures of both Super League and the Championship were radically changed, and that of League One was more modestly changed. Wales became represented in the Championship starting in 2010 with the entry of South Wales Scorpions into League One and North Wales Crusaders in 2012. Toulouse Olympique of France played in the Championship in the past, and returned to the British League system in 2016. Playing in League One. All other clubs in both divisions are based in England, and of these, only London Broncos of the Championship and Newcastle Thunder, London Skolars, Gloucestershire Allgolds, Hemel Stags, Coventry Bears and Oxford RLFC of League One are based outside the Heartlands. A team from Canada, the Toronto Wolfpack, is set to join League One in 2017. The Rugby League Challenge Cup remains as a knockout competition, though entry has now been expanded to make it a pan-European tournament bringing in teams from France, Russia and the rest of the UK, with the Toronto Wolfpack also set to join that competition in the near future. Amateur teams also have the chance to participate in the Challenge Cup and have been victorious over several championship sides. BARLA administered different amateur competitions which traditionally ran throughout the winter in the Heartlands but have mostly switched over to a summer season. The leading competition is the National Conference League, which consists of 4 divisions of up to 14 teams each. Other major amateur leagues include the Yorkshire Men's League, Northwest Men's League, Pennine League, Cumberland League, Barrow and Amp District League and the Hull and Amp District League. Teams from these regional leagues can apply for election to the National Conference League if they meet minimum criteria. The Rugby League Conference, which ran until 2011, was mostly composed of teams outside the Heartlands. It has subsequently been replaced by a series of regional leagues across England, Scotland and Wales. Successor leagues in England include Conference League, South Midlands Rugby League, North East Rugby League, South West Rugby League, East Men's League, South Premier, London and AMP, South East Men's League. Player awards. The main 2 awards are the Lance Dodd Trophy, which is awarded to the man of the match in the Challenge Cup final, whether on the winning or losing side, and the Man of Steel Award, which is the annual award for the best player in Super League. The Albert Goldthorpe Medal is an award that has been created by Rugby League and AMP League Express to honour the leading players in Super League. The Rugby League World Golden Boot Award is given to the International Player of the Year, as determined by a ballot of international rugby league writers and broadcasters. Until 2007, this was accompanied by the RLIF Awards, which rewarded the best referee, coach, developing nations player, international newcomer, captain and a team of the year. Defunct competitions. At various times, English clubs have either competed in a national championship with a second division and sometimes a third division as well, or had separate county leagues for Yorkshire and Lancashire. There were also county cups for Yorkshire and Lancashire between 1905 and 1993. The Regal Trophy and BBC Two Floodlit Trophy were two other knockout tournaments. A TransPennine Cup was played for a short time, but it was replaced by the National League Cup. The Rugby League Charity Shield was a one-off match at the beginning of each season between 1985 and 1995. It was contested by the champions and the holders of the Challenge Cup. The Rugby Union County Championship was continued as a Rugby League County Championship after the 1895 Great Schism. Teams representing Yorkshire, Lancashire, Cumberland, Cumbria and sometimes Cheshire and Northumberland and Amp Durham took part in the championship. This continued as the Rugby League War of the Roses played between Yorkshire and Lancashire. Derbies. Many of the professional teams are separated by only a few miles, but not all matches between teams from the same traditional county are considered derbies. There has been some debate as to whether St Helens versus Wigan or Bradford versus Leeds is the biggest derby in English Rugby League, but there is only one same-city derby in the Super League, Hull v Hull Kingston Rovers. All other derbies are from different but close towns. The Northwest Derby is between two sides that have usually been among the strongest in the game. Unlike in association football, there is no segregation of supporters at matches and rival fans mingle freely. Some of the teams involved no longer play in the same league, and so derby games are either arranged as pre-season friendlies or take place as part of the National League Cup. Calder derbies between Castleford, Featherstone Rovers, and Wakefield Trinity. Widnes v Warrington, Oldham v Rochdale Hornets, Heavy Woolen Derby, Batley v Dewsbury, Hull Derby, Hull v Hull Kingston Rovers, London Scalwers vs Hemel Stags, Salford v Swinton, St Helens, Wigan and Lee. South Yorkshire Derby, Sheffield Eagles v Doncaster, West Cumbria derbies between Barrow, Whitehaven and Workington Town. West Yorkshire derbies, Bradford, Leeds, Halifax and Huddersfield. Junior Rugby League. Rugby league is played at school level in many schools in the heartlands. Recently it has been introduced into some schools outside the traditional areas, in particular in London and Hertfordshire. 33% of schools across the UK offer rugby league as a school sport. The RFL uses two modified forms of rugby league created by ARL Development in Australia. Mini-league is played by all children up to Year 4 of primary school. It is designed to provide children with a safe environment, a firm knowledge of the laws of rugby league and a chance to practice the skills such as tackling, passing and common defensive and attacking tactics. Players up to and including Year 6 of primary school play Mod League. Mod League is a bridge between mini-league and full-contact rugby league. On completion of Mod League, players make a move to full international rugby league laws. The Champions Schools Tournament is a national competition for secondary schools. In the 2005-06 academic year, over 1,200 teams and 20,000 players competed in the Champions Schools Tournament, making it the largest rugby league competition in the world. 80% of participants are new to rugby league. The growth of the Champions Schools Tournament led to the creation of the Carnegie Champion Colleges competition for years 12 and 13. The regionally based competition was introduced in 2008 and started in January. British Amateur Rugby League Association runs the Gillett National Youth League as well as the Yorkshire Combination, Hull Youth and Junior and London Junior League. Super League and National League teams run academy sides to develop young talent. Players under the age of 21 years are eligible to play for the Senior Academy. The rules also permit 3 players over the age of 21 to play in academy matches. Junior academies of the second tier in the youth development system. Only players under the age of 18 years are eligible to play for the Junior Academy. No players over the age limit are allowed to play. Some of the better Junior Academy players may get experience in the Senior Academy, and it is not uncommon for some players to play regularly in both Junior and Senior Academies. Student Rugby League. See also Student Rugby League. Although the game remains close to its working-class origins, changes in social demographics and attitudes have allowed many working-class people to attend university, where they have continued their association with the game. The Student Rugby League was founded in 1967 when a team was created at Leeds University by Andrew Cuthbertson, Jack Abernathy and C.E.C. Thompson. Other teams soon joined in areas of the United Kingdom which lay outside of the game's traditional heartlands. The first university game was between Leeds and Liverpool in 1968. A year later, the Universities and Colleges Rugby League was formed after student pioneers fought hard to get the sport recognised in higher education. The first Oxford versus Cambridge University match took place in 1981. The varsity match has discretionary full blue status. The game is now played in over 70 universities. Rugby league in universities has been an important vehicle for expansion of the game, as players from outside the heartlands often first began to play at university level. Many continue to play after leaving university, and this has led to the creation of teams in non-traditional areas such as London Scholars and Gloucestershire All-Girls. Derivatives of Rugby League. Rugby League Sevens is particularly popular with pub teams drawn from the regulars at a pub. It is often difficult for a single public house to form a full squad of 13 players and 4 substitutes. Rugby League Nines is the more common form of the shortened version of the game. The Carnegie Floodlit Nines, Middlesex 9s and the York International 9s are 3 of the best-known Rugby League Nines tournaments in England. The York Nines began in 2002 and the Middlesex Nines a year later. All 3 competitions feature professional and amateur teams from England as well as teams from abroad. Touch football is administered by Rugby Football League through product known as Play Touch Rugby League. Tag Rugby are the RFL's official tag rugby league partners, running leagues in London, Yorkshire and the Thames Valley. Wheelchair Rugby League was first introduced to England in 2005. The first competitive league began in 2009. Masters Rugby League, which uses modified rules to allow older players to continue playing, has only recently arrived in England and is not widely played.